Hello again, Sandwich. I'm Greg Anderson, and welcome back into Meet the Candidates. Today we're talking with one of three men running for the one-year term on the Select Board following the death of Mike Miller. My guest is a man, you probably know him. He's spent decades keeping Sandwich safe and now wants to help steer its future. I want to talk with him about spending priorities, wastewater taxes, town budgets, and why it seems Sandwich has such a soft spot for electing former public safety guys. Welcome, David Newman. Nice to meet you.
Dennis Newman.
Dennis.
David's my brother.
David is your brother. Okay. Is he running as well?
No, he's in Vermont.
All right, excellent. So sorry about that.
Not at all.
Dennis, it's great to meet you.
Same here. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, we've never met. How's the campaign going?
It's hard to say. I meet people on the street, and they're all for it. They're happy that I'm running. So I'm excited about it.
Good. You were in the Sandwich Fire Department for 40 years.
I joined the fire department as a junior auxiliary while still in high school. Worked my way up to call, to volunteer, all the way up to chief of department.
And that was, so 16 years as lieutenant and 16 as chief.
Yes.
Should you win, you'll be filling Mike Miller's seat. And he spent, I think, 48 years on the Sandwich Police Department. Yeah. What do you I said it at the beginning. What is it about you guys that have been in public safety that you want to now serve the community?
Mike and I grew up in the community. Mike was my brother-in-law.
I did not know that.
He served as police chief while I served as fire chief. Our community, back when I was a kid, the population was under 1,000. Mm-hmm. Our community was very small. You knew everybody, you knew everybody's kids. I've watched the community grow from that to where it is today. In some cases good, in some cases not so good, as far as growth and the ability to meet our needs. But I think Mike, the same as I, felt a strong commitment to the community.
Yeah. In the material that you sent me, Dennis, you said that you're running to help meet the town's ever-changing needs in public safety, education, and maintenance of our town facilities. Mm-hmm. Those are big priorities. I want to unpack those and give voters an opportunity to hear the specifics. Public safety, what concrete contributions do you think you can focus on or make if you were elected to the Select Board?
Well, I think we've got a good department head in both cases. On the fire and police, and in the DPW as well. They do a good job of staying as best they can within the budgets while still meeting the requirements of the job. I know it was a challenge for me that I had to stay within the budget, but when somebody calls for an ambulance or a fire truck, we respond regardless of what our budget is. Mm-hmm. We do our job. To meet those needs, we have to look at all the possibilities. What is the best way to do that? I've done evaluations of other communities when I was a consultant, part-time consultant. You look at everything that's available, you find the best way to do that and the cheapest way to do it, but you still have to meet the needs. Mm-hmm. Is there a guarantee that you're always going to be cheapest? No, not in any aspect.
Yeah.
The personnel, we always hired or tried to hire top quality personnel to do the job, but you have to pay them to keep them around. Mm-hmm. I'm familiar with other departments who they're a revolving door. People come in, it's there for 2 or 3 years, and they move on to other departments. Fortunately, we had very little of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's talk about education. What changes or improvements do you think are needed to help our schools right now?
Wow. My wife is a teacher. I better not get this wrong.
All right. I'll help you out if I can.
Okay. I was involved in education to the extent of adult education, teaching firefighters. I taught for the State Fire Academy and the County Fire Academy. I did consulting work. Education is absolutely the best that we can do for our kids. We are both fortunate, my wife and I, to have our 2 kids grow up within the Sandwich school system. One is a doctor of veterinary medicine. The other is a fire protection engineer. He has 16 engineers working for him. I think that we have to maintain our facilities. We have to maintain good teaching, and I was able to watch the previous interview you did, and I was very impressed. And I've always been impressed with the Sandwich school system. It can be a challenge because not everybody has the same outlook, if you will,
Yeah.
of where they want things to go. But I think by and large, the Sandwich is done well by the schools.
Finally, town facilities. Boy, everyone is saying we're buying too much, we don't need this, why did we do that? When it comes to maintaining, just talking about the maintaining of the town buildings, including schools,
Right.
What is your vision with that?
Maintenance has to be foremost. When I was chief of department, I was literally scrounging from the county sheriff's office to get crews to come in and help fix our heating system. We would supervise and they would do the work or the painting. That is still a possibility. Fortunately now, we didn't have that when I was chief until the very end of my career. Town maintenance facilities. An individual who goes around, I believe he has an assistant now, to go around and just do that, change the door locks if they need to be changed, or fix a leak. We were fortunate in the fire department that a lot of our guys had dual roles. Not only were they firefighters or paramedics, but some of them were contractors on the side, either electricians or plumbers, and they helped out tremendously. But they can't be doing that kind of work and responding to calls at the same time. And I know the police has the same capability, but there's a limitation on how many hours there are in a day and the skills. But to keep our facilities up and running, we have to maintain them. Some of our facilities are very old. The headquarters fire station on 6A was built in '53. The following year it was flooded, and it's been flooded twice while I was chief.
Yeah.
The building is actually cracked. If you walk in there, you can see the walls are broken. So at some point it's going to give way.
Yeah, yeah. And of course we need money.
Yeah, money to do that.
To do that.
Yeah.
How do you assess the current select board in being able to prioritize spending for those types of needs?
Well, I haven't talked to them specifically, but I think that they have done a good job in looking for alternative funding sources, whether it be grants or payment in lieu of taxes. They did very well in coordinating a payment in lieu of taxes from the power plant with the most recent unit that was put online. That helped pay for the police, fire, and the Council on Aging building, they were all very badly needed. Chasing future funds, that's a challenge. The community years ago, and this goes back into the mid-'70s, I believe, we, as a community, didn't want Sandwich to turn into Hyannis, West Yarmouth on Route 28 with a lot of businesses everywhere.
Yeah.
That was great for community character, but it sure hurt us in the pocketbook.
Yeah.
A community living off of residential tax base gets taxed a lot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of commercial. We have some, but we don't have a lot.
Would you want to strive for more?
I would strive strategically.
Yeah.
One of the challenges that, again, this goes back a number of years, and I couldn't give you the exact, but I want to say mid-'80s, the town designated the industrial park in Sandwich as the place to put all of these facilities. Then when I was commissioner in the water district, we did a study to evaluate the water table under the town in the Upper Cape. And what we found is that all of our water, drinking water, flows right underneath that. So when you really look at it, you have to be very careful about what you put and where you put it.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Let's talk a little bit about the historic environment here in Sandwich. Somebody tells me that we're a very historic town. I don't know where. I don't know where I heard that. Kidding. I was on the historic commission, and it was many years ago, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. You emphasized in some of the material that you sent me being cost effective with preservation. What specific investments, if you will, would you not support if the price tag got too high?
Wow. I really don't have an answer for that. I've always been a person who looks at the problem, the individual problem, and then find a solution for that and fix it and move on. As a generality, I don't have a specific, but I would look at every issue, look at the facts, discuss it with everyone involved, and take input from the public as well and see what the best route was.
Are there
That's always
areas? Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's always been my approach to things when I worked on the fire department, and even today when I'm repairing vehicles for cars. I repair classic vehicles on
Yeah.
the side.
So is there more to do on historic preservation, in your opinion?
Oh, I think so. I don't think it ever stops. We are a community that is very old, oldest on the Cape. When I was at the National Fire Academy, I would meet fellows from all over the country, and they would talk about, gee, you know, our town was 100 years old. I said, really?
Yeah.
I said, you're a baby.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're nothing. I thought it was interesting in what you had emailed me. You call for maintaining the character of the community.
Yes.
Who gets to define what a community's character is?
The
and should
residents.
be?
The residents ultimately. A lot of people have moved into Sandwich because of the character, the quietness, the historic value of the community. I mean, everything from the Glass Museum going all the way back. And that was what was the part of the character, the education system, our public safety capabilities. We have some of the best public safety capabilities in the county as far as talent.
I think character is, boy, when you look back at when Bill Clinton was running for president, the big question was, you know, does character matter?
I think it does.
Yeah, yeah. And when you look at a community, for somebody who could sit on the select board, you are in a position of influencing character.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, whether you're sitting in the selectman's office or you're sitting as a department head and determining the character of your organization, you have to look at the goals and the objectives, maintaining the character of the community. It has to be right up front.
Yeah. You sound like a consultant as you were talking, and I am a consultant. My day job is as a consultant. Tell me about what you said you did do some consulting.
Yeah,
what was that?
I was hired by a couple of different individuals to work with a community, either in the process of selecting raw firefighters, recruits, if you will, all the way up to chief of department. We would go in, we would sit down and interview the candidates that they had. They selected the candidates and presented them to us. We would go through a process of interviews, and we would problem-solving situations. And I was very proud that the way it was done, there was anywhere from 3 to 5 of us. We would sit down and review the candidates in total. And we each grade them individually. Now, you might grade somebody, it will say a 7, and I would grade them a 6. But when it all came to done, the top of the list that you picked and the top of the list that I picked were the same.
Interesting. Did you do that exercise, or with this group you were working with, did you do it here in Sandwich?
Oh, yes.
You did?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We did that in selecting our own firefighters. We did that in reviewing officers for the various ranks. Back when I was chief, it was lieutenants and captains.
Interesting.
And some of the special functions like EMS officer and fire prevention.
Yeah. When we look at your campaign, is this the first time you've run for office?
Never run for office before in my life.
Really?
So the whole process is new to me.
Yeah. And it's a foreign one. My father was a selectman. He was in the school committee in a different town in Stoughton, Massachusetts. And man, being his kid, watching him being asked questions, and that's not a fair. Why would he do that? And that's not, his sign is not on that lawn. You know, you get very personal about it. How has it been for you? You know, your name is now out there, much more than it was before. Your opinions are being heard. Not everyone will agree with them. How does that sit with you?
Well, the last thing that you mentioned, the opinions, some not agree with you. Even working, and I've been in several organizations, that's from the state level all the way down to county, and there's 3 groups. There's those that agree with you all the time, or most of the time, those that never agree with you, and those in the middle who really don't care, just get something done. I think you have to work with all of them.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that I learned when I was teaching. When I was teaching the nuclear firefighting program for Pilgrim Nuclear and some of the other large power facilities in the state. I was teaching people that were laborers all the way up to PhDs in nuclear physics. So you really have to balance and get the
Wow.
point across to both levels.
Yeah. Wow. That's not easy.
No,
I
it's
mean,
not. You work. You have to work at it, and you have to be.
Yeah.
You have to take the input that the individual's given you.
Yeah.
Think about it, and then get back to them on their level.
Nuclear physics is something I do in my sleep.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, I'm very comfortable in that space. But so you have two challengers, two opponents here.
Yes.
David Sampson and Gene Perini. How do you differentiate yourself from those gentlemen?
I don't know that I differentiate myself so much. I'm different because of who I am and where I came from, and and everybody is that. You know, you walk in somebody else's shoes and you see what happens. But I think the difference is I grew up in town. I've loved this town ever since the day I could have left. I've had offers all over the country, and I wanted to stay here. My family grew up here. My kids have been raised here. I don't know the gentleman personally. I've spoken to David a couple of times. Gene, I've never met.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything to say one way or the other about him, but I think that everybody brings something to the table. It's just a matter of whether the public likes what you bring.
Yeah.
I bring honesty. If I don't like something, I'll tell you. If I have an opinion, I'm going to tell you that too. Then you can decide whether you like it or not.
When you look at joining the select board, there's a learning curve.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, you start a new job, even if you've done it for 50 years, if it's a new job, new company, there's a little bit of a learning curve. What's your learning curve? Being humble, being transparent, what do you think your learning curve is if you were to win this seat?
I think relatively short. There might be a procedure or two that I may not know about, but I'm very comfortable with the process. I've worked with our former boards of selectmen, finance committees, school committees, and so forth over the years, not only in this community, but in others when I was brought in for consulting purposes. So I don't think that'd be too difficult to deal with. There may be a project, for example, that's ongoing, that I may need to have some specifics beefed up a little bit. But other than that, I'm not worried about it one way.
Do you know any of the other selectmen that are currently on the board?
Robert George was a firefighter with me.
Of course you know. Yeah.
I grew up in this town. He grew up with me.
Yeah.
The other gentlemen I've met a couple of times, but that's about it. I don't know them personally.
Sandwich has a strong tradition of civic volunteerism, being very neighborly. It's kind of what it speaks to the character that I think you and I probably would agree is what makes Sandwich unique. We definitely go on social media and Facebook, you'll see some dissension there, but how can you as a member of the select board, how can you help preserve that tradition when so many people are very distrustful of politics and government these days?
Wow. How do you encourage someone to get involved is what you're asking. I think that if you explain the situation to them, most people will do what they can. If they can't do it physically or monetarily, they may be able to do it by speaking. My family has always been involved in helping other people. I do that every day. But I think that if you present a situation to the average citizen, most of them are going to say, look, I can do this much, or I can help you in this way. I think you just have to be constantly talking about the situations and bringing up the points and the concerns. A lot of times people don't know. And it may not be because it hasn't been put out there by like yourself or the newspapers and so forth. It's just that they just didn't hear it.
Yeah, and I always say knowledge is people say knowledge is power. I say knowledge is potential power.
Yes.
It's what you do with it that really matters, and it's amazing how many people act on incorrect information. So if you were on the select board, there are many vehicles of ways to get the message out or clarity on a position or a vote or whatever, but how do you see yourself helping others in the community understand where Dennis Newman is coming from, what your rationale may be on certain areas?
I think that you go to as many meet and greets as if you can. You put information out via Facebook, via the community TV, and to some extent the newspapers, because not everybody gets the newspapers,
Right.
even the local ones. But you have to be out and actually got to talk to people.
Yeah.
I found that out early on in the career of the fire department. People did not understand do not resuscitate orders. So I would go to senior citizens groups and explain the whole process to them, and it's solved a lot of concern about what that whole process was about. Putting Knox boxes on homes. People thought that was awful at first. Now it's an everyday occurrence. That you call up and say, a relative, we haven't heard from in such and such time. Rather than break down the door, we have the key, we can open up, verify the person is either okay or needs help without destroying their property.
Yeah. Let's change subjects.
Sure.
Wastewater. On April 22nd, the town finalized the $3.3 million purchase of more than 86 acres of land. But we just learned that that it looks like the funding is now likely not to happen.
Right.
A major shift.
Oh, absolutely.
Give me your thoughts on that, and what do you see?
I think the town was very smart in looking for a plan B, which is what this 85 acres is, and actually purchasing it. Excuse me, again, without having to raise taxes at this point. It needs to be done. There's been a septic problem in town, especially the downtown area, since as long as I can remember, partly because of the way the geography and the topography is in Sandwich down there. A lot of clay in the downtown area underneath the, especially Town Neck and down the Main Street area. But I think that was, we're going to have to pay for it one way or the other, and that's where I talked about initially, sometimes where we're going to be required to do things. The town, prior boards of selectmen and Bud and the finance committee put this water infrastructure fund ahead and started to fund it. That is huge, absolutely huge.
Yeah.
It may have to be increased because of where the direction we're going to have to go now because of a lack of state and federal funding.
Yeah, and there's as I understand it, there is now a conflict with being able to hook up to the base.
Yes, I was very hopeful that was going to be
Yeah.
the case, but it does not look like the case now.
Yeah, that's a major setback.
Oh, that's a huge setback.
Yeah.
But again, that's why that 85 acres was such a good deal.
Yeah.
It gave us an alternative way of getting the problem solved. It may take us longer to do it now, and it's going to cost a little bit more, or a lot more, as the case may be. But I don't know that we have much choice.
Yeah.
We've got to do something. And it's like replacing the roof on your house.
Yeah.
If you don't do it, the rest of the house falls apart.
Yeah. Why'd you bring that up? I literally do have to get my roof done, and I've been trying to push that out of my head. But DPW building,
Yes.
And fire building, the proposed station. You like the idea?
I do. I like the idea. I would have rather seen the buildings go, the fire station go across the street on the north side of Route 130, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Both buildings are in need of repair and resizing. Both buildings were too small when they were built for the apparatus and the needs of the day. There wasn't enough vision to see what was going on and where the town was going. Fortunately, the town is, I won't say it's built out, but we're closer to that edge.
Yeah.
So, but the facilities that we have now need to be done. The best route, I think we need to revisit that.
Yeah.
Look at the cost benefits. I don't know why the costs are so high.
Well, that's it. The three of you running have all said this is ridiculous money.
Yeah.
How did we arrive there, in your opinion?
Some of the I didn't see the design,
Yeah.
so I won't go to that. But oftentimes, when architects design things, it's something to make the architect look good.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
Okay, I've dealt with several architects. in town as well as out of town. My son's firm is a fire protection engineering firm. We evaluate properties, and sometimes you wonder why they do things.
Yeah.
What his process is, and the same process I would bring to, is you look at the facility and see what is really needed and what is being done correctly.
Yeah.
It's form shall follow function in my book.
Yeah. There's another consulting line. I like that. I'm going to write that one down. Let's talk a little bit about the budget as we come close to wrapping up. The Select Board unanimously approved the FY26 budget, 6% increase. Would you have voted for it?
Yes.
Why?
The costs of everything have gone up, as we all know. Would I have voted for it? Yes, the department heads have already done a good job of presenting their needs to the community, and oftentimes they're requesting a lot of things that they foresee the community needing down the road, but they don't have the money for that. As a department head, it was my job to present to the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee, these are our needs. Whether you choose to fund them or not, that is up to you. Yeah. I've presented you what the need of the community is and my reasonings for that. The same thing that has happened today, I'm sure. The selectmen have reviewed that, the Finance Committee has reviewed that, and they've approved it.
Yeah.
So yes, I would have voted for it.
How do you balance fiscal responsibility with the need to invest in the town's future without automatically framing spending as negative? Everyone says we're spending too much, we're buying too much, our taxes are too high, but you still have to run the business, if you will.
You do.
How do you balance the two and communicate that?
I think through education, and we're going to go back to that part of it, is we've got to explain to the public why we're doing this. We're not doing it to be frivolous. We're doing it as a cost-benefit analysis, looking at the real needs, what it's going to cost us, what's the alternative. So we explain that. You have to explain it to the public to get that point across.
Anything that you can offer as we wrap up as to why someone will say, yeah, you know what, I think I'm going to vote for this guy, Dennis?
I can't promise that I will guarantee that taxes will always be low. I don't think you can go backwards. We're a community that needs to maintain itself. We've got good facilities in some cases. We have other facilities that need to be upgraded and repaired. To what level and at what time, that may be a choice. Yeah. But I think that I could give a fair look to everything and an honest review of the whole process.
Let's end on that. Dennis Newman, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me in.
Yeah, it's great that you did. So Thursday, May 8th, it is your chance to get into those polls. Vote, please do so. Will you? Just for me, do it. I'll see you next time, Sandwich. Thanks.